Our worst nightmare when buying a house has come true. What do we do? So it's been a while. I haven't been talking to you guys because I've been sick. Um, got a respiratory thing for a couple weeks. I still kind of have a cough going on. This is the weirdest thing. I willingly and stupidly ate gluten on a Monday night and woke up Tuesday morning with a really bad sore throat and congestion. And that's normal for me now whenever I eat gluten. So I didn't think anything of it. Well, it continued on, and Wednesday my sore throat kind of went away. Well, it did go away. I worked out in the yard on Wednesday. It was hot and I was sweating, which is good. Helps get rid of stuff out of your body. And I coughed up some stuff and my sore throat was gone. And so I thought, oh cool, I'll be over this in a couple days. I wasn't. It hung on for a couple of weeks. I never had a fever, which is really weird. I just had a lot of congestion in my head and in my nose. And as long as I was out in the sun or I was working or whatever, the congestion wasn't bad. And then at night, it really bad. And then eventually it led into a cough. It never really settled into my chest. I did onion poultices on my chest several times. And so I think it kind of kept it out of my chest. But now I just have coughing fits every now and again, mostly at night when I'm trying to sleep. And it's better. So anyway, that's why I haven't been on here. But in that time, I had a birthday. Woo! 46 now. It's 4 years away from 50. Yay! My husband actually surprised me with gifts. We haven't been getting each other gifts for our birthdays very much lately. But my husband surprised me. He got me stuff to help with the YouTube channel, actually. He got me a gimbal for my phone, which I haven't tried it yet. Right now is the first time I've tried this little microphone. So it's nice to have a wireless microphone instead of that little wired one that I had. So hopefully this works. It's coming through. I don't know. I kind of sort of tested it a little bit inside just to make sure it was recording. So we've got some new technology on the channel. Yay! The gimbal, I don't know when I'm going to use that. That takes some software to download and stuff like that. So I'll probably try the gimbal at another time. What else? Oh, my dad gave me one of my favorite movies on DVD on Golden Pond. And he couldn't find one to buy for me, so it was so sweet he gave me his copy. I actually went and I have purchased a vacuum sealer. I'm so excited. It should be here next week, maybe Tuesday or so. I'll definitely do an unboxing with that and see if I can do a demonstration. We freeze most of our stuff for saving because A, I don't know how to can and I don't have a canner. And B, right now I couldn't can anything on that stove of ours if I wanted to because it's supposedly a smart stove, but it's actually really stupid. It's not technically a smart stove, but it's got this stupid chip in it. It's supposed to help if you leave your burner on so that your house doesn't burn down. And it's got this sensor that will shut your burner off. Well, if I'm boiling water half the time, it'll think it's too hot and it'll shut off. And so I've got to move the pan around and it'll start heating up again. And it depends on where the pan is as to whether or not it'll do that. My cast iron skillet I have no problems with, probably because it's so stinking heavy. But we're looking at possibly getting different burners that don't have that little sensor in it, so that you can just plug them in and they'll do what you need it to do. So technology trying to be helpful is just being a pain in the butt. So I don't feel like I can really can anything on that stove right now because you're supposed to keep your temperature and the pressure at a steady rate. And with that stove right now, I can't do that. So with freezing everything, we've been using freezer bags and paper and stuff like that, and I'm just tired of the ice crystals. So I want to get a vacuum sealer to be able to put things in the freezer so that they don't have ice crystals. So I'm really excited about that. I've been wanting a vacuum sealer for a while. I apologize for the noise. There's somebody weed eating across the road, um, which is weird because we just had a big storm last night. I guess you can still weed eat wet grass, but whatever. So yeah, we had a big storm last night. Um, it's been dreadfully hot here, and I've had to water the garden like in the morning and in the evening as well. And our tomatoes have been suffering. And so with the double watering had been starting to help. Well, then the forecast said no rain for quite a while, but the forecast is usually wrong. And last night and Thursday night we got heavy rains. Last night was an actual storm, and we were in a tornado warning. Apparently, I was asleep by the time that came around. But our lights went out like immediately as soon as I got a notice on my phone. Hey, severe thunderstorm warning. 5 minutes later or less, the lights are gone. No electricity, which is fine. I can survive all that. The only thing that really bothers me is no air circulation in the house. When the air is really still, after a while, it kind of makes me want to panic a little bit. So to help me with that, I just made myself lay down and go to sleep. It was already about almost 9 o'clock. So I didn't go to sleep right away. Our dog hates storms, and she was up and down and back and forth, and I was trying to get her to be comfortable, but eventually I just fell asleep. And the lights came back on in the middle of the night. My husband said it was about midnight. So they weren't out for too long, just a few hours. And the weird thing is yesterday afternoon, I was thinking, I should set my alarm for like 5 o'clock so that I can be outside by 6 and working in the garden, because I knew I had to fertilize stuff this morning. And I didn't set my alarm because my phone was almost dead. And the only way to charge it was in Studio B, because we have battery backups in both studios. So my phone was in the studio instead of beside my bed. So I didn't set an alarm. But apparently my dog got me up at 5. I didn't know what time it was because it was still dark out. And so I brought her outside to do her business and took her back in and went back to bed. And I was laying there and my stomach started hurting really, really bad. And so finally I had enough of it, and I got up and went to the studio and got my phone. And here it was 5:27. And I was like, oh, didn't need an alarm after all. So God got me up at the right time, I guess. Or the dog did, one or the other. And I was out in the garden before 6 o'clock this morning, which was really nice because it's been really cool out here. The sun wasn't even up. You can see daylight, but the sun wasn't up over the edge yet. And the air conditioner just kicked in. So I apologize if you can hear that. But been out in the garden, took me an hour and a half, and I did some fertilizing. And I'll tell you more about that as we tour the garden a little bit later. Our worst nightmare when buying a house has come true. I thought an inspection would prevent it, but it didn't. I don't know if the inspector just didn't know what to look for, which is scary to think of as an inspector, or if he just overlooked it. I'm not sure. But the problem is with this corner of the house that you see over here where the gutter is. It's slipping off the foundation. And so now we need to have somebody come fix it. We had a company come out to look at replacing the vapor barrier under the house, because we know that whoever put the last one in there did a terrible job and put the cheapest, crappiest stuff under there possible. And since there's problems around this area with a lot of moisture under the houses anyway, we wanted to just kind of up our game a little bit and prevent termite damage. Again, which this house has suffered severe termite damage. From my understanding that people have told me, there were floors missing in this house because of termite damage. So all the floors are new, but another bombshell, I guess you'd call it, our floor is sinking in through the kitchen, the second bathroom, up to our bedroom, through the other bathroom. So we had a company come in to do the looking at under the house for vapor barrier, because we have a contract with Terminix for the termite issue to make sure that it doesn't come back. And they had given us a quote that seemed kind of high to us, but we're learning more and more about why some people do it for $900, and then there's companies that'll do it for $2,700. Totally different kinds of material used, totally different process. So this guy that came out to look at the crawl space to give us another quote besides Terminix, he's the first one that said, hey, quarter of your house is sinking. You know, the foundation's messed up. And I don't know, God's given me this weird gift to just be peaceful about things. And I guess it counteracts my husband because he worries about everything. And so that day when that guy left, I was getting ready to take a nap because I had had a long day and it was 3 o'clock or so in the afternoon. And so I was laying there and he comes in, he's all panicked and upset. And I said, first, pray. Second, get a second opinion. And then I rolled over and took my nap. Well, when I woke up a couple hours later, I heard my husband on the phone, and then I got out of bed. I noticed on our whiteboard a date and time. And so I just kind of smiled and I said to my husband, I said, you're getting a second opinion, aren't you? And he said, yeah, I called somebody. So this other guy came out, and he was so much more thorough than the first company that we really felt we could trust this guy better or more, however you want to say that. Not only did he do checks outside and under the house, he actually went inside the house and did measurements with a laser light. And that's how, because I think he already noticed that the kitchen floor really was, it bows, it sinks, which would explain why the bottom cupboards were coming off the back of the wall. So he gave us a quote. Not only do we need to put steel pylons or whatever they're called, I don't remember what they're called, under this corner of the house to bring it up where it's supposed to be. We also have to put a steel beam under the house, under the kitchen, with jacks to bring the floor back up to level. This house was built in 1976, and back then, the pylons under the house to hold it up were like, it was okay to be 15 feet apart. Well, now, code is that they're supposed to be about 5 to 6 feet apart. I think it was 5 feet apart. So we've got 15 feet apart pylons, and anything in the middle is sinking, even though the floors are brand new. So they got to put the beam in. It's going to go from the bathroom on the far end over by where the studio is, all the way under the kitchen, and under the next bathroom, up to where our bedroom starts. So a little over $16,000 later, they are scheduled to come out in July on the 18th and 19th to get that done. Unfortunately, we had to take out a loan to be able to pay this. I don't know how we're going to pay the loan. God will provide. I know that. He always does. But having been through the bankruptcy and everything, we really didn't want to take on any more debt. We don't do credit cards. Um, so we have this loan now, and I'm trying to figure out ways to make extra money. And yeah, so, but at least the house will be stable. We have to pay $150 a year for them to come out every year. For at least the first year. I don't know if it's first 2 years, but at least the first year, they're going to have to come out and they're going to have to adjust the jacks, especially under the kitchen, because the kitchen was the one that's the worst. It's actually 2 inches off. So they're not going to be able to bring that up 2 inches all at the first time they come out, because that could break stuff that we don't want broke. So they're going to have to lift it up a little bit, and then they'll have to come out again next year and hopefully finish it to where it's up to where it's supposed to be level. Either way, it's going to make the floor more solid, because right now we have kind of like a trampoline feel, not like super bouncy, but when we walk, things shake. He didn't say anything about through the living room, like on the other side of the wall that's between the kitchen and the living room is the load-bearing wall, the main load-bearing wall, which is where all your pylons are going to be. But I think between that and the wall, the outside wall of the living room, I don't think there's an issue there. Maybe will there be an issue later? I don't know. I think the sinking in the corner probably is perpetuating the issue out here, but our kitchen, honestly, I think is wider than our living room, so it makes sense. But anyway, we always talked about when we were looking at buying a house that foundational issues would be our worst nightmare. And here we are. You got to do what you got to do, right? And the thing is, too, is we need to have this done because realistically, we can't do any of the renovations we want to do in the house until this floor and that corner is stabilized, because otherwise we're just going to have more issues further down the road. So like tearing off the paneling and putting up drywall can't really be done until the floor is fixed. Otherwise we still might find, like in the bedrooms there's drywall, we still might end up with cracks in the drywall because of shifting the house. But we'll see. I don't know what other expenses are going to come out. I mean, we just took out enough money to repair the house, to do the work to repair the house. So if anything aside from that, excuse me, if anything aside from that happens that needs to be repaired, that's going to have to come out of our pocket somehow. Just praying that the money will come through. So, enough serious talk. Let's take a little garden tour, shall we? Okay, so this is the corner of the house. I know I said garden tour, but let's look at this first. This corner of the house is what is sinking. This is the corner to our bedroom. And I can't really see what they talk about. My husband can, but I can't. I guess a little bit right here. There's some cracks. But I think it's on the other side that they were referring to. Huh. I guess we need to fix that too. That's a little better. Anyway. They say there's stair-stepping cracks. I guess this is part of it. I don't know. Like I said, I could never see it. Oh, look at there. That screw needs to be put in too. Good gracious. The person that flipped this house has no business flipping houses. That's all I can say. They don't know what quality work is. Anyway, well, there's another. Well, I don't know. They're talking about stair-stepping cracks. I see this one here. I guess that's why I've always been a skeptic about the whole foundation is sinking thing. But there are... Oh, I think I see what they're talking about. Look above the... There we go. You see the stair-stepping crack right there up across over top of the shutter. So it's that stair-stepping that gives you a clue that the foundation has issues. So they're going to come in through here at this corner, and they're going to dig down to where the footer of the house is, and then they're going to put these, I think there's 3, or is there 2? Either 2 or 3 steel pylons underneath the footer to bring that up to where it needs to be level. So, my biggest concern is that they crack the windows, which these are the cheapest, crappiest windows known to mankind, and if we have to replace them, I'm not going to be heartbroken, except for the expense. So, that's what's going on with the foundation. Look what I just found. Do you see him? Hey, little guy. You're very well camouflaged on this hydrangea bush. So this hydrangea bush was here when we moved in. There was one big bloom down here in front. I cut it off last night, or 2 days ago maybe, and put it in some water and stuck it inside so we could enjoy it. And there are no other blooms on this plant. I don't know what's going on. But it looks a whole lot healthier than what it did last year, because I cut it way back in the fall. So, on to the garden tour. First, look, no tree. Ha-ha! Although there's a lot of debris from the storm last night, and we haven't picked any of it up yet, so. And can you tell which direction the wind was blowing last night? That way. All the corn is leaning that way. So, yes, we planted corn a little later than we probably should have, but we needed to wait for the tree to get out before we could plant. So with the tree gone, this was available to plant in. Shortly after, we added, this is called double red corn. I want to say I got it from So True Seed. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it from. And it's a sweet corn, but it's only supposed to get about 4 feet-ish tallish. It's not supposed to be super tall. So, thought we'd give it a try. I used every single seed in the packet, and we'll see how it does. It's growing really, really well, minus the fact that the wind last night kind of blew it sideways, but hopefully it'll straighten back up. I just fertilized it this morning with some fish emulsion. The corn is high nitrogen feeders, so we'll see if that perks it up. These little guys fell in the yard from the storm. Looks like a funny little jellyfish, but it's actually a moss. I think it's called reindeer moss, but it's really spongy. It's actually pretty cool. I'd like to find like a practical use for it. I'm not sure what. I mean, I feel like I could scrub my dishes with it if I cleaned it. Oh. So anyway, Turk's Cap is actually blooming. I love it. I'm so glad we left this here. We didn't know what it was at first, and then we figured it out. Turk's Cap. Hummingbirds absolutely love the Turk's Cap, the flowers. And then late summer, they'll end up being little red, they look like berries, but they're more like apples as far as the texture goes. And I like them, but nobody else in my family does, so I'll be eating those. lettuce, that red fire lettuce is still going, man. So I add fish emulsion to that this morning, so we'll see what that does. This is our edamame plant, and it has pods on it, but it's not getting edamame on there very fast. I think part of the problem is these little guys right there. I think those are Japanese beetles. So I should probably see about getting rid of those things. Oh, and there's more down here. They are just having a good old time in there. So that's edamame in the pot. The ones that the rabbits ate, actually, one of the plants has several pods on it. Look at this. Even the rabbits couldn't destroy these plants completely. The rest of them all ended up like sticks, and so I pulled them out so I could plant my cinnamon basil. So, anyway, I feel like I'm getting out of order here. Let's get back over to this side. So this is the plot that we pulled the garbage bags off of in the last video. So we pulled the garbage bags up, and I finally got something planted a few weeks ago. These are bush beans. So they're a green bean. I believe they're called Kentucky Dreamer, which is a version of Kentucky Wonder. But Dreamers are supposed to be more resilient to pests and fungus or blight or whatever it is that they get. Although that middle one looks like it's been eaten by something. But that's the only one that's been touched, so it's almost like it was like, ooh, let's eat this. Ew, I don't like it. So the other ones are fine. So hopefully we'll have some beans coming up. And then in the middle here, which that is grass. Okay. In the middle here is straight neck squash. I only see a couple of them that are actually coming up. That looks like grass. So there's only a couple of them coming up, which I guess is fine. The seeds were really, really old. I want to say the package date was 2019. So the fact that not all of them are viable is not surprising to me. And then right through here, I planted some lemon sunflowers. They're only supposed to get about 3 or 4 feet tall. Beautiful little flowers. I grew some last year in pots. So we've got several of those coming up. And then here, I was really surprised. I saved seed from some okra that I had gotten. I bought the plants, and we lived in Leland at the time in our rental. And we're not huge okra eaters, but I wanted to experiment with seed saving. So I just let it dry out, and I ended up getting like 90 okra seeds off of this plant. And it was only like 2 or 3 okra pods. So that was a couple of years ago. So I planted some of the okra seeds, and almost every single one of them has germinated. There's a few in this front row that didn't. So yeah, we're going to have okra, though we're not huge okra fans, but maybe we need to become huge okra fans because it grows so well out here. So an update on tomato plants. Still got a lot of leaf curl, regardless of all the water. I did put fertilizer in this morning, which you'll see a clip of it. These guys over here got Garden Tone, and it is, I don't remember the exact NPK. I think it was like 355, I think. But it has more phosphorus and potassium than nitrogen, which is what they need right now for the tomatoes to actually get bigger and better. This one's got a couple of tomatoes on it. This, I believe, since we've moved these things so much, I can't remember which is which anymore. One of these is a volunteer that we pulled out of the broccoli garden. The other one is a celebrity tomato that a friend gave me. This one has a few tomatoes on it. They're looking a lot better than what they did. This one has a lot less leaf curl. And then these guys are all zucchini plants. They're all called Cocazelle, or is it Cocazelli? I don't know. Zucchini, and they have like a variegated zucchini that comes off of them. Oh, there's one. We didn't even see this one before. Here he is. Pretty little thing. So these guys got fertilized this morning as well. And this one, the leaves are even variegated. Can you see that? That's wild. And here's a third one. These are the ones that you'd seen in a previous video where in one of these pots I put a ton of seeds. There was like 12 seeds or something. And then we separated them. These 3 each went into pots, and then the rest of them went into the ground. So they're doing really well. We've harvested a couple of zucchini off of these 2 plants because these are the 2 biggest plants. So here's the weird thing. I know, I'm sorry, my shadow is in the shot. These 2 came from the same seedlings out of those kind of pots as all of these. And these 3 look really good, really healthy. These 2 got huge. And then the 4 that we put back there are still really small, but they were all relatively the same size when we transplanted them. The only thing I can think of is the previous plants that were here, they put in different nutrition back into the ground. So where these 2 ginormous ones are at, there were brassicas planted here, broccoli to be specific. The broccoli was here and it bolted, so we never got a harvest off of those. So we pulled that out, and then the zucchini came in its place. And we did amend the soil a little bit, but we amended the soil pretty much the same, I think. But at the other end, where they're smaller, that's where the potatoes were. So 2 totally different families, clearly, put different nutrients back in the soil. So note to ourselves, and to you if you want to take that note, plant your zucchini wherever you had your brassicas in the wintertime. It seems to be an awesome, awesome combination. Let's see. These guys got fertilized this morning too. That one has 1 on it right now. We harvested a couple. Oh, no. 1, 2, 3. Never mind. 4. Okay. So he's still doing really well. This one has several as well. You see how they're variegated? And they've got the lines on them. And the weird thing, there's always something weird going on in our house. Look at this. It's getting towards the end of June and we have a broccoli growing. So remember I said we had broccoli in this part of the garden and it bolted. As soon as it got hot, it bolted. But the one that's in the pot hasn't bolted. Hasn't shown any inclination of sprouting flowers. But instead, it's sprouting broccoli. This one doesn't have any broccoli yet, but it does have a worm. Look at him. You see him? I am honestly going to let him enjoy his meal because I'm just shocked that we have a broccoli head in the middle of June, in the middle of a heat wave. So, it's a small broccoli head, I understand that. And we'll harvest him at some point and throw him on a salad. But anyway, we just let this go since it didn't bolt and we wanted to see what it would do. So let's go over here. And we have pepper plants. Wow, that one's like grown 6 inches since last night. Anyway, we have the 4 pepper plants we transplanted the seedlings a while ago, and then the one in the middle was a late bloomer, I guess. He germinated later than the others, so we transplanted him just this past week. So they're doing pretty well. We've pulled flowers off of all of them because we want them to be bigger before they start actually putting out peppers. But they are a bell pepper, and I want to say I planted black beauties. I think that's what they're called, or black something. They're supposed to be a really dark purple pepper. And over here, we did have 6 plants of borage, but something came along and ate 3 of them. So we have one here, and there's one under there, and then there's one under here. So borage is an herb, and I really love the blue flowers, so hopefully it'll grow, although the zucchini plant's taking over 2 of them. So these 2 basils we transplanted the same time as we did that 5th pepper plant, and they're doing pretty good. I just fertilized them with some fish emulsion this morning. And so we've got 4 other zucchini plants over here. We might have planted them a little close together. This one's finally taking off. They're getting bigger. They're just a little bit behind compared to the others. And they seem to be mostly male flowers, so I don't know that we'll get much off of these. Trying to see what's on there. Yeah, male flower, male flower. There's a a zucchini, but I don't think it was pollinated well because it's kind of yellow. There's a new one coming. So maybe there's some females on here. Yeah, there's one coming. Those are all males there. But they'll help pollinate the female flowers, so I'm not going to be too broken-hearted about it. And then over here, I planted more red fire lettuce, but nothing's come up. And they're supposed to germinate in 3 to 5 days, and it's been beyond 5 days, so I don't know what to do about that. Back over here on the tarp, this is one of the celebrity tomatoes that my friend Bethany gave me a seedling for. And it has grown really big and strong. Look at that trunk. And it's a trunk, it's not just a stem. And this guy is getting really big. We don't see blossom end rot at all on underneath, but I'm concerned that it looks a little brown on the top. But he's looking a lot healthier than what he did before. Now we've been putting these 2 tomato plants on the tarp where water settles so that they constantly have water. I'm hoping it doesn't cause root rot, but during this heat wave, the tomatoes were actually getting puckered looking, like a sponge or something, because they didn't have enough water. Like, you see how smooth the skin is now? Before it was like dimpled, like, because it didn't have enough water in it. So this seems to be helping, because when it rains, the water just kind of sits here, and then the plant can soak up water from the bottom as much as it wants to because it's in a cloth bag. It's probably going to rot the cloth bag and we won't be able to use it next year, but that'll be fine. This is the other rogue volunteer tomato plant that showed up in the broccoli patch earlier this year. And it has a ton of tomatoes on it. And one of them is turning, though it's a very scarred tomato. Let's see, can I get... There it is. He's turning. These are supposed to be beefsteak tomatoes. I'm thinking that the company we got them from put the wrong seed in it, or they put very crummy seed in it. And I don't remember where we got it from. I want to say it was So True seed as well. because we planted them last year and they never got any bigger than that either. So I'm thinking that's what these are. This guy was a sucker that we cut off, and we put him in the small pots to start with. Well, he was big enough last night, I decided to transplant him into here. And so I said I was fertilizing early this morning. I got some, I guess it's called Mater Magic from Lowe's last night. And when I transplanted him, I put some Mater Magic in the bottom. And I put Mater Magic in this one and that one. And then one of the ones that are in the ground. I just wanted to test it and to see how it does compared to the other fertilizer I got, because the Mater Magic still has a lot of nitrogen, which is fine for growing leaves. I don't know. From what I was understanding from reading, the nitrogen grows leaves, the phosphorus and phosphate grows the fruit and the flowers. So from what I was understanding, we needed more phosphorus and phosphate, but the Mater Magic still has quite a bit of nitrogen, like 5% nitrogen and then 4% phosphorus or whatever, but it also had calcium and some other things in it. So I'm trying it out to see if it really is magic. This one right here, I put the Mater Magic around it as well. And I don't know if you can see, there's a piece of it. It looks like a rabbit pellet. Like the food that you give rabbits. That's what it looks like. So, and you're supposed to mix it in like the 2 inches of your soil, but these are so far advanced that I can't get 2 inches around in the soil because the root system is right there. So I mixed it in as best as I could, and then I put the mulch over top of it. And then after having big storms yesterday and today, and the day before with lots of rain, people probably thought I was crazy out here with the hose, but I was just watering in the fertilizers. So let's back up. These guys, I threw a mix of wildflower seeds out here, but then somebody also had given me some seeds from their garden, and I want to say they were zinnias. So I sprinkled some of those out here too. So they're growing really well for the most part, and I don't know what's what. And I don't really care. I just wanted some flowers out here to help bring in pollinators, although the pollinators seem to be really enjoying all the flowers in the cucumbers. Look at that. These cucumbers are jamming like crazy cucumbers. We have never had cucumber plants do this well before. Look at that. They're up over the trellis already, which I don't know what we're going to do about that. These are the pickling cucumbers, and they have gone absolutely insane. We actually cut some back in here the other day because you couldn't even see the flowers. There were so many leaves. So my husband was cutting a bunch of it back. I was cutting out all the yellow leaves that I could find. And so now the bees can find the yellow flowers a lot easier. And there are a ton of cucumbers. There's one right there. Oh, there's a busy bee. Good job, buddy. Keep going. Oh, there's 2 of them fighting. Who's going to get the flower? See, there's another cucumber growing right there. We actually found a bunch of them when we were clearing this out. There's some back in there. There's one that I think needs to be picked. Let's see if I can get in here without getting stung. I don't know if I can catch it on camera. Ugh. Ow! Spiky little suckers. These are actually Boston pickling cucumbers. Come on off of there. There we go. They are spiky. There's a slug. So we've got several of these inside. I'm going to need to be making refrigerator pickles really, really soon. Let's put you over here. This guy on the corner is a striped mammoth sunflower. So he's about as high as my hip right now. He's about 3 foot tall. They're supposed to get like 6 foot tall and have up to 12 inches, like a foot round sunflower on it. That's the only one that germinated out of the 3 that I planted. So we'll see how he does. This little guy right here is cinnamon basil. I already showed you the edamame. We have dill, which this particular plant has flowered already. There's some parsley right there. It's not doing that great. We have a marigold in the back that's getting choked out by all the cucumber vines. Another dill, another marigold. We have all of our tomato plants. All these tomato plants are hillbilly tomato plants that I planted from seed. There's a little tomato right there. We probably need to come out here and look for suckers tonight. There's a bigger tomato right there. These guys are supposed to be fairly big, meaty tomatoes. I've never grown the hillbilly variety before. As you can see, we didn't clear out the cucumbers quite as much out here on this side because we were doing it Thursday before the rain got to us, and the rain got to us before we could finish. So, you could probably stand some more thinning out on this side. These on this side are actually the munchers. So they're your smooth skin cucumbers. They haven't gotten quite as tall. They really wanted to just branch out along the ground, which is fine. We've actually picked several of them off the ground. You see some of those in there? There's one on the ground that might be about ready to pick. So there's one right there that'll be ready probably tomorrow. I don't want to pick it now because we've got so many already. Maybe we'll pick some tonight and take some to people at church. See, like some of these vines out here probably could go. Oh, there's a little cucumber there. There's 2 of them. I don't mind them growing on the ground. That's what they're supposed to do. But I don't want them sitting on the ground so much that they go bad. There's one in there. I mean, they're just everywhere. But we do need to come out and thin this out. We might do that tonight if it's not raining. I see some more yellow leaves in there too. Sorry, bees. I'm not trying to interrupt your job. But yeah, there's one that's almost ready. Yeah, we definitely need to come in here and thin this out a little bit more. On this side, I feel like the pickling cucumbers got all the attention the other night. Ooh, can you hear those bees? There's one. Hey, sweet buddy. You guys find yourself talking to your bees when you're in your garden? Or am I the only one? I guess that one pickling cucumber was the only one that was ready. I'm just not seeing them. We honestly try to pick them in the evening because it seems like the bees aren't out as much in the evening. And we just don't want to disturb them. There's my peppermint. I actually harvested a whole bunch of peppermint and let it dry, and I actually took the dried stuff and put it in a jar yesterday. Down here we got a whole bunch more dill. It's doing better on this side. And in the pot, there's another part of tomato plant that we pulled, or that we clipped off, and we're trying to regrow it. Whether it works or not, I don't know. I did add some garden tone into that one. I watered the dill, the strawberry, and the marigolds with fish emulsion. This strawberry plant has really come back. This was the one that was covered in fire ants, so I put flour on it to get rid of the fire ants, and then I drowned it in water to get rid of fire ants. But it is just coming back really well. Look at that big strawberry. I had another strawberry on it the other day that I actually ate. It was really good. Marigolds, I'm going to be separating those soon and potting them in separate pots. So that's all I got for today. Still got to repot some of those marigolds. It's starting to get hot. It's supposed to be hot again today. So I don't know if I'll wait until this evening to do that. I mean, the dirt's really wet from the storms anyway. I guess it doesn't matter. But anyway, I'll try to start filming again more now that I'm feeling better. And maybe I'll even catch some on film of what they're doing to our house next month. We'll see you next time.